Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connections for Life. I'm Ted Pete.
I'm playing grown-up Shaq Kuvo today. I wore a collared shirt. I'm actually doing my work and my job, so today's grown-up Chad.
First time, 2 years.
Hey, everybody has a role. Mine started today.
And I'm directly, Chad's right there on the other side of that wall. Yeah.
You guys have adjoining rooms.
No, they're just next to one another. Accidentally,
awesome.
Like we didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so hilarious if you guys just exchanged in the show.
Oh, that would be funny.
Why did we
It's a
think
lot
it
of
was
work.
before we pressed record?
Because we don't think of anything ahead of time.
This is the first time I've never had my snap camera in 70 episodes and no background, no green screen. You can't even see my arms.
No one wants to see your arms.
How's the weather?
I feel like I'm in a police interrogation. How long do you know the man? Why is the light?
What'd you say, Teddy? How's the weather here? It's awful.
Yeah. Really?
It rained all day
guys.
on the way here. It's been raining. It's been raining. It's still raining, I think. Yeah, it's not great.
Oh, so it's the same gray as New York. Wonderful.
Yeah. But every time I go somewhere, I bring the weather with me.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. At least it's going to be warm today.
How was your weekend, Joe? What'd you do?
I don't know. Soccer games, same old. Nothing to speak of. Macy played a pretty good game on Friday. I remember. Nothing really great. I don't have anything ultra eventful to talk about.
I'm trying to remember what I did over the weekend. Oh, I built I built a gazebo on Sunday from Big Lots.
That's pretty
It was
impressive.
it's 14,000 pieces. Yeah, but this thing's like a permanent metal structure. It was
it's pretty sick.
Yeah,
it'll be blown away in the first windstorm, but
100%. Which is this afternoon.
They give you anchors to anchor.
No, I know. I have to anchor to my.
But he didn't anchor them.
Yeah, I will. It told you to do it at the end.
It didn't mean like the end of the week.
Yeah, when you got to the end, that's what you're supposed to.
I ran out of time at home. I don't know.
Lindsay's out there doing it right now.
You better.
I wish she was.
You better hope to God that the wind doesn't come up.
Because you're dead. 700 pounds.
That's not enough.
700 pounds.
That's not enough.
30-mile-an-hour wind will blow that thing right over.
100%. I had one of those pergola, a huge pergola like that. Man, if it wasn't anchored to our concrete, it would have been gone like 10 to 11 times before we moved houses.
Chad's gonna drive home a little faster today.
Can we move on?
No, I want to place the fear of God in you for this. Damn,
I already am.
He's freaking out
already.
He's freaking out right now. Like, oh no.
I can't think of anything else other than that thing blowing away after I spent 5 hours putting it together. Maybe more.
That was great. It was awesome.
I hate you guys sometimes.
Anyways, what about you, Ted? Did you do anything?
Well, so today's Tuesday, and yesterday was my babe's birthday. Eileen turned
Happy birthday, Eileen.
A new year old.
My babe.
My babe. That's what I call her, my babe.
Punch you in the face.
So over the weekend, we actually took a break from basketball, which was hard to do. And we went to Del Lago.
You went to Del Lago.
We went to a basketball game.
Yeah. We went to Del Lago for the weekend with some friends.
Oh, that's cool.
To see the what are they called? The
Harlem Globetrotters?
The Harlem
we went to Harlem Globetrotter basketball game at Del Lago over the weekend. No, we spent some time. It was great, just to get away. It's funny though, because so the people that all traveled with us, so one set of them are parents, and then the other two sets are coaches and their wives, because we're all really close. So we're like, hey, we've been in the hotel for 3 consecutive weekends for basketball. What are we going to do this weekend? We're going to go to the hotel.
Go to another hotel.
Did you stay in Del Lago?
We did. We stayed at Del Lago.
I've never stayed there because I only live 20 minutes away. Are the rooms nice?
The rooms are very nice. Nice. Everything's controlled by an iPad.
Know where it is.
And all that stuff. It's on the 90 in between
Syracuse you do.
And Rochester.
I probably do. I just don't pay attention well.
Yeah, you know where it is. It's right where you'd get off to go if you were driving. Well, maybe you have.
It's where you would get off to go to Upscale.
Yeah.
From where?
From Buffalo.
From Buffalo, Rochester, that way.
Yeah.
Near the outlets?
Right next to one outlet.
Right.
I just know. Oh, okay. I probably just never paid attention well enough.
So we did some shopping as well, though, and it was nice. And
that's cool.
My babe was happy, and I got good husband points. We spent Sunday.
And now it's Tuesday.
Yeah, they're gone.
Now they're gone.
Yeah. They're gone. I am now back to being a piece of garbage. But we did have a bear come in the yard last night and try to rip our fence
that's
down
cool, though.
at 2 a.m.
Did you anchor it into the concrete?
It is anchored into the concrete. The fence was good. The fence was good.
I gotta go. Joe, can you handle what we gotta do? I gotta go home and glue it down for now.
Glue will not work. But no, that was me. That's what we've been up to. So we're awesome. As I think I mentioned, but you two are in Louisville right now. What for?
Louisville.
Louisville.
See Louisville Gas and Electric to do some hands-on demonstrations.
Wait, you told me we were here
about upscale.
You told me you were. I didn't know we were going to do that.
Joe thought you were going to Kentucky Derby.
I thought we were down here for a baseball game.
The Bats, the Louisville Bats.
The Louisville Bats. We saw them the last time we were here.
Yeah, we did.
Accidentally on purpose.
So what now? We got no Joe's Idiom Corner this week, right?
No Joe's Idiom Corner.
No, we're going to do Gas Fact first, or are we going to do it second?
Whatever you want to do. I don't care.
Just slap up the background.
No.
Whenever Chad pulls up the background, I'll do it. You should walk by with a piece of paper that says Gas Fact on it. Gas Fact. I think we did that one before. Are we doing Gas Facts? What you want to do? Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I
right there, Joe.
on
Gas Fact. Oh, he still has it.
Yes.
I have lots of notebooks.
They're all blank.
A lot of notes.
They're all blank.
You bought a lot of notebooks. I mean, you used a lot of notebooks. So, I'm not going to, I guess I can give you multiple choice. I didn't post this one yet, but it's about the improvements in natural gas stoves, right? Okay. So prior to that, people cooked in what? Do you guys know?
Like prior to natural gas?
Yeah, like how they cooked. Like in their houses.
Fire?
Wood fire. Wood stove.
Wood or coal.
Coal.
And then before that, like,
can you imagine burning coal in your house to cook food?
Right. And here's the thing, you'd have to keep it cooking like all the time. So you'd have to tend to it multiple times a day. It wasn't just like you lit it when you wanted to eat. Yeah. Like you would literally keep it going all day long. You'd have to
keep it going like coals, kind of like an outdoor grill.
And then they switched it to coal gas. So like they would burn coal and then like pipe the gas like to people, So but the very first gas stove, which was kind of like the coal version, right? I can't really pinpoint when the natural gas one kind of transitioned over. I kind of can, but not really. But the first gas stove was developed as early as blank, but remained isolated experiments. James Sharp patented the gas stove in Northampton, England in blank. Okay. So there's two blanks. They're about the same, so it doesn't really matter. But so the first gas stove was developed as early as blank. You guys are just going to throw a number on it.
1867.
Okay.
1866.
Well, if you guys are playing the prices right, you're both wrong. You both don't win. Anybody want to say $1?
1908.
Dollar. 1820s is when it was first developed. Yeah. This guy James Sharp patented an actual gas stove in Northampton, England in 1826 and opened a gas stove factory in 1836.
The fact that they had patents in 1820 is kind of amazing.
So this is interesting. A gas stove was shown at the Great Exhibition in London in 1851, but it was only until like the 1880s that the technology became commercial success in England. By that stage, like when the gas stove was developed, there was like no piping network. So like you could get one, but you couldn't get fuel to your home. There was no piping. There was no infrastructure. So not until like the 1880s was there enough infrastructure that they could actually, put it in different places.
When they started having more gas lights, I assume that's when gas lights started becoming a lot more used. I'd assume somewhere around there.
I think
this is interesting though. Gas stoves only became widespread on the European continent and in the United States in the early 20th century. So there's actually, I know you guys can't see it, but maybe I can blow it up a little bit. Can you guys see this? Probably not, right?
No, not at all.
That's like the schematic of the first.
It looks like an apartment building
with a hat, with a removable roof. So that was an Australian patent for an electric cooking stove. I'm sorry, that was in 1905. So that came out around turn of the century. Yeah. So there you go. That's all you get today. That's my traveling fact. I was gonna do one on Louisville gas because
my traveling fact. So, Ted, are you giving us our new background? Are we going to our new segment of storytellers?
No, we were doing that on the back end.
I don't care when I do it. We can do it on the back end.
I think we should talk about who we have on the show now, because this has been by far one of our worst intros ever. Just because I don't have my snap camera, that's rude. No, because you didn't anchor down pergola before you left, and now it's affected your performance the entire.
Here's the thing.
Well, maybe
it's going to tip over and fall. It definitely is. It's not going to break or hurt it at all, but it's going to fall directly on your Wi-Fi line, your internet, and sever your internet again.
Yes, that might be in 3 more weeks. That might be my story again.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So we'll talk about our guest who I'm about to call on the phone during the middle of this and ask if he can walk across the street and anchor down my pergola. So our guest this week is definitely a little bit out of our normal strike zone for guests. He's one of my best friends in Ohio. Like I say in the interview, maybe one of my own friends in Ohio. He lives across the street from me. He's got a heck of a background. He's now a lawyer, but essentially he runs online schooling and curriculum. So it's pretty interesting, especially in the day and age we're in after these last 2 years after the pandemic and how the world's changed. It's fun to talk to him about that. So no gas stuff.
I was just going to say, we wanted to bring him on because it's kind of appropriate. We all have, young school age children. And I think that with, you're seeing like some kind of strange things happen out there in the world as far as like teachers and schools. And I think a lot of people are starting to consider that as an option for schooling. So it was really unique to talk to him. I guess much like all of our guests, I didn't really have an understanding of like how that worked. I understood it kind of like precursory, but to hear Jeff talk about it and explain it it was definitely a little eye-opening. I didn't really understand how the whole, integrated schools and things like that. So it was cool. So
it's pretty neat. So
it was one of my favorite interviews, hands down.
It's just different. It's something. It's out of our normal strike zone, and none of us really know anything about it. I mean, like I said, I spend a lot of time with Jeff. I spent a whole week with him, and I didn't know all the stuff we talked about. You know what I mean? Not even close. Yeah. I probably learned 3/4 of what we talked about in the conversation that we had. So I just think that's pretty interesting.
Isn't it funny how people a long time, kind of know what they do, but you don't really ever talk to them to that level? Like it's like, man.
Well, it's funny. I had a month ago. We make fun of it a little bit with Jeff and here about him not knowing like what I do essentially. But like a month ago, I educated them on natural gas and all these things that we talk about all the time. And he's one of the people, him and Rochelle, his wife, are some of the people that blow my mind, that they just don't really know they only see what they see on TV too. So it's kind of the same thing. Yeah. It's like trading information, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. That should be the name of the show now. Trading
information. No. Wow.
It could be information traders. That'd be probably a cooler topic than trading information. One sounds like it should be on Discovery. One sounds like DIY.
Do you want me to actually welcome him, Ted? It'd be weird.
Wait, who are we bringing on again?
Mr. Jeff Nelson from FutureEd Solutions. Welcome to Connections for Life.
Hello, Jeff. Welcome to Connections for Life. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's just an incredible honor to be here.
Well, you clearly have never watched the show before.
Yeah. No, he never has.
Yeah, an honor. No.
Yeah. I'm going to go first just to give a little background.
Since he's your neighbor.
Yeah, and he's one of my best friends in Ohio too. Probably my only friend in Ohio, actually. Now that I think about it. Jeff lives across the street from me, essentially. Shared some fun times in the last 5.5 years on vacations and just randomly and just a lot of fun. But
you just can't start. You lived there for 5.5 years already, man.
That's crazy,
like, isn't it? I know. Like I remember going to look at houses with you, driving through
here.
Columbus. Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty wild. Wow. So I'm going to start, even though Joe usually is the first guy with the first question. I probably know a little bit of the story, but how'd you get into education and why in the beginning? Because this is, and I will preface this with, to our normal viewers, this is not a natural gas or utility related segment, which is really crazy. It's going to be about online schooling and education. So sorry, Jeff.
Which is very pertinent these days, and we want to talk about it.
I do use a lot of those. I have a gas grill and a gas fire. And Yeah, a Blackstone. So 3
not the same, but thanks.
No.
Propane gas.
That's
obviously
propane.
Chad talks about his career a lot with you because your understanding of it is impeccable.
Obvious.
Really zeroed in. So yeah, it's kind of crazy because I didn't go to college to do that. I was going to be a sports announcer. That's really what I wanted to be.
That is literally my dream job. If I could do any profession in the entire world, like start a do-over in life, that's what I'm doing in life.
Yeah.
I think those positions are usually reserved for like ex-athletes.
I saw a Seinfeld episode where they did that.
Thank you for picking that up. Thank you.
So then I love basketball too. I wanted to be a basketball coach at that stage. And I thought, well, I guess you have to be a teacher. This is, remember, late 80s. And I thought, I guess you have to be a teacher to be a basketball coach. So I literally went into education just to coach basketball. Had it all planned out. It's going to be a Hall of Fame high school basketball coach in Ohio.
But at the same time, you were a pretty good pitcher in baseball, correct? I mean, at that same time period, right? I mean, you were pitching too.
Yeah.
So why? But wait a minute, Jeff. Why basketball then? If you're like, did you play basketball or you just like?
Right. So I was a really good pitcher. I was one of those where you just kind of gifted that you can throw it really hard. I only liked to play baseball when I pitched, though. I did not like going to practice. I didn't like doing anything. I loved basketball. I loved the X's and O's of basketball. I loved everything about it. But I also was 5'9" and not much of a leaper. I could get the net.
How much of a leaper?
You tickled the bottom of the net.
So fundamentally, I was great. I knew how to box. I was boxed out and knew all the fundamentals, but there's only so far you're going to go.
We call that the DNA lottery, and you lost it, my friend.
I did. But you put a baseball on my arm, and I could throw it 90 mile an hour and hit a dime. And so, but when I started to go around the college and stuff, and started to figure out, in baseball, our pitchers get up at 6 a.m. and they run, and then you do.
That was the work ethic part that you didn't.
That does not sound like what I want, college to be. So that was short-lived a little bit there. So the baseball career. So so then I really wanted to coach basketball, and that's why I got into education. And ironically, never ended up coaching football and didn't end up coaching basketball. So ended up being a dean at 27. Principal at 30 and superintendent later on, and went to law school in between all of it.
So you're now a lawyer.
I'm an attorney, and and I was.
And you also own a company called FutureEd Solutions.
FutureEd Solutions, yeah. So as I was getting ready to go into law school, I saw an ad in the paper that for an online teacher, 2005, had no idea what online learning was. So answered the ad out of curiosity more than anything. Then found out I could teach at home and flexibility of the schedule, and
was left since then.
Yeah, which was perfect going to law school at night. Finished law school, but loved what I was doing. Ended up being a principal of the online school and then superintendent of the online school.
So where did the idea about FutureEd come from? Or like what? Yeah. Well, first of all, how did you get that started?
Can I ask a number question before that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. FutureEd Solutions, was Future Education Solutions already trademarked?
No.
Okay.
We went FutureEd.
I don't know why why that had to come out.
So I just tell us a little bit more about FutureEd and then kind of how the genesis of the organization started and what you guys do.
Yeah. So I was a superintendent of one of the state online schools in Ohio. And so it's an online charter school. But FutureEd, I started with somebody else to help homeschool families around the world. We provided curriculum and a teacher to grade assignments, not to teach. I mean, what we told homeschool families is you're choosing to school it's a huge industry, the homeschool market. So we would charge them per month for curriculum and then grade the papers. And then as an attorney, I would also research the state law of everything that they had to do with the school district and fill out paperwork for them, help them fill out paperwork. And so that's really what's FutureEd. We just started doing that. And we did okay. It was just a little on the side. I put in half hour a night or whatever it may be. Sure. Then we expanded. When I stepped away from being a superintendent, we started to notice that school districts, what we found in schools and education is one of the last ones to embrace technology and a lot of
anything new, right?
Yeah,
anything new.
So true. We want kids to sit in rows, and we want them to, with the teacher being the teacher-centric classroom up in front. And schools are just really slow to embrace technology. And this is pre-pandemic. So what we did is they were losing a lot of kids to charter schools. And so what we would go into and partner FutureEd when we first started this portion is partner with schools, help them set up digital options under their school umbrella, and help them bring kids back into their district and really create a revenue stream for them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The most important part of that isn't just bringing the kids back into the district. People see that, oh, the kids come back into the district, great. Sure. What they don't realize is when they leave the district isn't getting paid for those kids.
Right. They take the money.
Yeah, which is amazing, because if you go to like Catholic school or private school, it's not like I get that money to put towards Catholic school, which is weird too. But that's a whole different subject.
It's not even like that in every state. Every state's just a little bit different. But I'll give you an example, and I won't name the school, but we partner with a school. They lost $5.2 million worth of funding, worth of kids to charter schools.
So just really quick. So I understand, which I assume everybody else understands. Make other people understand. If your enrollment's 100 students, you make X, you get X amount of money, right? If you drop down to 80 students, you get much less money. Correct. So what you're saying is they lost enough students to equate to $5.2 million in funding for 1 year, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so what initially, Joe, what we would do is we would go in and say, we're going to help you run a campaign to try to claw those students back. And then we have teachers on our side. The students belong to that school district. So we're not a school, but we have teachers on our side that teach those kids. It's really the beauty of it. It's risk-free for the district. They don't have to pay for all these different seats, or they don't pay anything up front. We bill them monthly per day per seat. So if a student doesn't come back, the district owes us nothing. So as a district, why wouldn't you do it?
There's no risk.
Right. Exactly. Now it scales beautifully for us, because now my teachers are teaching 17 different schools. Now,
wow.
This school may have 2 kids. This school may have 3 kids, but I have one teaching staff that can teach them all. So it's a pretty safe model for us. It's a great model for the district. It just gives kids.
So Jeff, when you put them back under your umbrella and your program, then the state, or whoever the funding group is, says, okay, we count them now as a student for your, so then they get that funding, even though they never maybe even step foot on the premise.
Correct.
Interesting. Correct. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I clarified. That's really cool.
They get
so why wouldn't schools do that? They can get their money back without any additional resources. When they don't have to expend any resources to it. They don't have to increase their class size, hire more.
They don't have to do anything really.
Right.
The other thing,
I think I'm going to be opening one. It's called FutureEd Solutions.
Yeah. So can I ask you this? So I was a school board member for a while, and one of the big innovative pushes for the district that I was on the board at was one-to-one learning. So and basically what that means is essentially there's a computer provided by the district for every student in the district. Yeah. And it's to help facilitate, programs exactly like this. Am I correct in assuming that? Now, is that like a target list for you? Do you research schools that have the one-to-one program in place and then drive towards them, or?
So it's a good question, because when we started, that wasn't the case. So when we started working with districts in 2013, we actually, most schools weren't one-to-one yet.
Yeah.
So we actually rented. We had a daily laptop rental as well as a help desk and all the other things that, tech support, all that stuff. What we found is within a couple of years, we only had one district doing. Everybody was getting to be one-to-one. There's so much money out there to one-to-one.
Jeff, do they right now, as far as growth for your organization, are you looking at I have to assume that, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but one would have to assume that the COVID pandemic was probably a good thing for you from a business perspective for you guys.
It was
with the remote learning and things like that. Did you see a massive uptick in people utilizing your organization, or just kind of how did that pan out for you, or how has it panned out?
So that's interesting of what the pandemic has done. And you're right. What we saw initially before the pandemic was we had a lot of more at-risk population. kids that would come in, not all, but most, I mean, a good bit of. And so not only as we pre-pandemic would set things up, and we're in the schools all the time, teaching them best practices of how to help us work with the kids because they know the families.
Sure.
So, and we have skin in the game, you know, we're vested.
Of course.
I mean, I get the fact that if the kid leaves, I'm not getting any money. So I have to make sure that kid's successful. So we're in the schools a lot to work with personnel and guidance counselors, those things. But then we also expanded our use cases. Again, this is pre-pandemic. For example, we do credit recovery. We do their summer school. I mean, schools don't like to mess with those things if they don't have to, and there's no risk. So again, we'll do singlets. Say a kid wants to take a certain class at a small school and it's not offered this period, and it gives them credit flexibility.
Well, it's incredible flexibility, right? They can do things at their own speed and pace, and take as much as you want. Is if you want to do 5 additional classes, you can.
Jeff, is that maybe the innovative side of it, Jeff? Like, is that where the innovation that we talk about that's needed? Is that kind of what you guys are doing? Is trying to make it easy, more flexible?
Well, it is for the school. Like, we just expanded our use cases, really, is what we have done. And so it's not the case with a bigger school. We're a better partner really with smaller districts. I'll give you an example where we really do a lot is foreign language. A lot of these small districts can only afford to have maybe Spanish.
Like a specialty teacher for each individual.
But with us, their kids can go to a lab while they're in school. They're not, this is not their average, this is just their everyday kids. Now they can go to a lab and take any language.
You have Mandarin?
We do. We have Mandarin Chinese, we have French, we have German, we really our most popular and most growing is sign lange.
Do you have basic math for Chad? You come up for English.
I'm going to need second grade algebra. They don't have algebra.
We call it foundations level.
Yeah, shapes and colors. Shapes and colors. That'd be great.
Yeah, shapes and colors. So now get to the pandemic. Now we go to the pandemic. We saw a whole different type of student, right? First of all, schools were much more open to embracing online. Most schools didn't like it. Again, they want kids in rows and all this. So now we have the pandemic and they realize they need something. What we saw a lot of districts do is we're going to get the cheapest seats we can. Well, you get what you pay for. And then they find out that they're basically buying this curriculum where you just hit A or B. It's not challenging kids to think at home.
Right. It was going through the motions to pass a proficiency. Like, you've done enough.
Proficiency, because we're not challenging to think at home. But again, it's a pandemic. We're all just trying to get through it. So now we come out of the pandemic. Schools typically thought, well, everybody's just going to come back. That was last year, right? But then what we found is that students and parents now got a taste of the online world, and they were much more interested in having it. So we had some schools who would be very stubborn and say, we're not offering anything online. You have to come back. Well, in Ohio anyways, so a lot of these families said, okay, see ya. We're going to go to one of the state online schools, take the money with them. And now schools, we saw right around an uptick of about 39 to 42%.
And the schools probably lost their minds because all that revenue didn't come out of their budget.
So they just thought the kids would automatically come back. Well, they didn't. And for whatever reason, some wrong, some of the reasons were wrong, some reasons understandable. So schools were much more willing now this year to embrace this, this concept. Because
I don't see what the risk is for them. I mean, to be honest with you, the best case scenario, you would want like a large portion of your, like, here's the thing.
Why would you fill your school?
Right. That's exactly. Thank you for kind of putting that.
Why are enrollments?
Why would you be so concerned with that if you can keep class sizes low? You get the same amount of revenue. You get a better learning experience.
A couple of reasons. A, teachers union. All right.
Fair enough.
So they're going to butt heads there. We had a school one year who their health teacher quit the beginning of August, right before school started. They didn't have a health teacher, and they had school started in a week. So we taught their health for the whole year. The kids went to a lab and they took health with us. And our health teacher would go there every now and then. So they got to know the kids, but we were their health teacher. But that's only going to go so far with the union. Like, they're going to wait. We want our teacher. Now, the one way we combat that, I'll go into a school and say, hey, I'll use your teachers. Let's use your teachers.
Yeah. Why not? What's the difference?
I'll pay them out of my share.
Yeah.
Smart.
0 have taken me up on that.
They won't. They
why
would
is
never
it the
let you
double
do that.
down? That's why.
Yeah.
They would never let you do that because you're calling their bluff, and they lose the control portion of it, and that's.
Well, here's the other thing, Joe, is like they think, okay, they love the money piece, then they find out, wait, I really got to work,
right?
Because understand, these teachers were teaching during the day, and then they wanted to do this at night, and then they realized this is a lot of work.
Oh wait, yeah, I actually have to do something.
I really got to work. 0.
I'm not going to talk bad about teachers, but I have.
Oh, no, I'm not either. I wouldn't have done it.
No. I would love to because I have a lot of opinions, but I'm gonna hold them back. I just think that it's really cool what you guys are doing, and I think that honestly, I mean, me personally, because I didn't understand this at all, at least any of it prior to the pandemic. But going through what I went through with my 3 girls and the pandemic and their education, I was left feeling really, really unsure of the level of education they were getting based on what I was seeing.
You were disappointed.
I was absolutely massively disappointed. When my 7-year-old could be done with her schoolwork in 20 minutes for the entire day, I was like, wait a minute, there's something, we're missing here. And I think it's really cool that you provide that platform for kids that actually, I think what most people watching this will think that like, that's what I think most people's experience was during the pandemic. They did enough information just to get by. Their kids did a half-hour work a day and they moved on and went and did whatever. But I think the reality is you're actually putting a very full comprehensive learning experience and program together. So kids are actually learning. And I think that's the misnomer with what you do, is that a lot of people think of it as that versus what it actually is. And I think that's maybe where you get some pushback.
Well, I think that's why pre-pandemic schools weren't willing to partner with us, because they're like, we're not doing that online stuff.
Right.
But now they realize
right.
And I'll say this too about the pandemic with schools and everything, man, people did the best they could.
Yeah.
I understand.
They didn't go to school to learn how to teach online. There's a craft to teaching online. It's different, right? There is no book on the shelf that you can pull out, pandemic emergency. We didn't have that. Everybody did the best they could do. But if you're still doing a poor job today, well, now that's on you.
Right. I agree.
So
I think the thing that bothered me is we rolled out of year 1, right? And we had the hope that year 2 was going to be like, all right, we're going to start fresh, scratch this off, and then we're going to do it. Year 2 started with a lot of the same things, a lot of the, hybrid model and things like that. And what really pissed me off was that they were no better prepared. They were no better prepared at the end of the other year than they were at the start of the following year. And that was ridiculous to me. That's where my pain points come with the school and the school district and stuff.
We're going to leave that P word in there just for the emphasis.
Yeah, I can say pissed on the show.
Again, he doubled down. So I have another question that came from that for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I know in the school districts that I'm accompanied and associated with around here, a lot of older teachers just didn't come back. They decided, hey, I've got enough time, I'm going to retire. And you had an influx of we'll say, very, very youthful educators.
Or no educators.
A 22-year-old who just finished getting their teaching certificate and are still working on the rest of their levels and everything are now running a classroom without any experience. And did your business model benefit from that, where you got some teachers who retired from being in-person school and said, I can do this, and I can imagine you have a higher quality of education that you're able to put out because you got teachers that got 20 years of experience.
Yeah. So my teaching army, the beauty of mine is like I pay my teachers, per day per kid as well. Yeah. Most all of my teachers are retired teachers.
That's what I was saying.
So if you work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. Right?
What do you got for me at night?
Well, they tell me
you can't tell me
how many, they tell me how many kids they want. Yeah. And then I monitor them to make sure they can handle that amount, but they can teach from anywhere. They can go to Florida. They can go to, I have my French teacher spends 2 months in Paris. I mean,
Hey, Jeff, where do you get teachers? Like, do you, I mean, how does that work?
Craigslist.
No, I mean, do you interview people? I mean, I assume you want to get the people that are most comfortable teaching online because it's not for everybody, right?
So here's the beauty though, Joe, is first of all, word of mouth. Like once these retired teachers, they love it.
Right. And they talk to their buddies. Right.
They still have something that they can still do, but they don't have to put a whole day in. So they tell their retired teacher friends. But the beauty of it is this: if I don't feel like they're very good, I just won't give them any kids. I pay them per kid. I just won't give them that many. And then Jeff, I'll ask, hey, why? Or they may say, hey, why can't I get more kids? I go, because your grade time is not good. You're like not turning you're taking, 36 hours to grade an assignment and turn it back. So I assume you just can't handle it. So I'm not going to give you more kids.
Jeff, really quick, this is primarily for you based solely in Ohio, correct? You're not doing too much outside of Ohio.
I can go to any state, but we've built this from inside of Ohio. But
how does this is the thing that I don't really understand is where does the curriculum come from? Who builds the curriculum? Who builds the information that you're teaching? And then how do you know that that's on par with the state requirements? I assume that that's all taken care of somehow. I'm just curious as to how that works.
So through my time in the actual being a superintendent and a principal of the virtual world, I have interviewed probably over 20 different curriculum companies. So I'm very adept at knowing that like these different ones, who's good, who's not. It's also for what the school wants to use it for. I mean, there are different types of curriculum that you would want to use depending on, you want rigor, you want high rigor for maybe your talented and gifted kids. It's a different curriculum than if you want to do a credit recovery course. So we have relationships with a number of different curriculum companies, and we can match it up with what the district wants to use it for.
Okay. So does the district tell you? Do that, like if you go to a school and they say we want you to use this, and that's what you're.
And when you, Jeff, when you say credit recovery, I assume it's kids that are trying to get their credits back or getting, trying to get it to graduate, something of the sort.
Yeah, big challenge.
Oh, I thought you meant like credit. Like I was going to.
I was just going to call in.
It will be a kid that maybe failed a class. Say they failed algebra, they need to take algebra, but that if they just fill it in the next year in their school, they're going to keep falling behind, and they're not going to be able to graduate. So that's we do that.
That's awesome, man. I want to ask you, like, just actually, Chad's got one for you. Go ahead. You want to ask?
I don't know which one I have anymore. We've talked about.
I just want to ask you. Since the beginning of your career, you started off wanting to be a coach or teacher, right? Then the coach and superintendent and principal, and now this business, and also an attorney. What do you like? What's your favorite one? Why and why? Like, why would you? What would you, if you could go back, like which one would you have stuck on, or are you doing what you want to do?
I would go back to my very first year in Florida and do it all over again.
We talked about it a lot.
I know. So, I was giving him the opportunity.
Such an amazing year. I mean, I worked at a boys ranch, and there were tougher kids, and they were building our school. We rented out the Ocala National Forest or 4-H camp in the Ocala National Forest for our school, and it was just such a fun year to figure out the world, when you thought you knew it all.
And you met some of your best friends you still have there, right?
I do. Very close.
That's awesome.
So let me tell you like where I see us going next year and in the future.
Yeah, that was going to be our next question. So thanks for totally taking
it.
We'll just log off.
Want to help? Yeah, go ahead.
So what we're seeing right now, and you made the comment, like a lot of people are retiring, but because of what we see, both politically and the pandemic, I mean, people just aren't going into education now. Like the educational colleges, and when I don't mean like, I mean the schools within the colleges, they're down over 40% in participation. There's not going to be teachers.
Why do you think that is?
I think that they've taken, I mean, first of all, we've gotten, I mean, I don't want to get down the political path, but we really have taken control out of the teachers' hands and principals' hands with some of the crap that you see coming down, not just in the last year or two, but in the last.
It's been a trend for that's been coming. Yeah, for sure.
Now, you get a teacher maybe wants to I don't want to say discipline or whatever it may, but everybody has their phone out recording the teacher, and you put you on. I wouldn't deal with that crap if I were.
I have a friend of mine that's a teacher, and he's a high school shop teacher. And he had a situation not too long ago where a kid, he basically told the kid that to get out of the classroom, and the kid was verbally abusive and very aggressive. And he was like, "There's nothing I can do.
There's nothing I can do.
There's nothing I can do. I have to sit there and deal with this and take this, because if I do anything, I have 15 other kids."
I think you answered your own question, Joe.
It's just scary. It's scary. It's at that level. People don't fear their teachers anymore.
No. I had a friend of mine who was in the hall, and he caught it. He walked in on a kid tagging like a locker, right? And he was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And he's like, "What the F are you going to do about it? I'll see you outside in the parking lot at your car if you want to talk to me like that."
Crazy world.
Like, I'm a substitute teacher. I don't want to do that.
I don't care. I don't care what you're doing. Honestly, I was just.
I was just wondering what you're writing.
Sorry, pal. You got another one? I'll help you. Like,
we're getting
no
to
one
the
do that.
stage.
Joe's like, I'm going to avoid this conversation completely.
Yeah, we're getting to a stage now where you can't suspend. You can't. Kid, the respect factor is ridiculous. Why would you do that? Yeah, so we're it's over 45% now that they're down teachers. There's not going to be teachers. So here is where we're going to go. We've already seen it start this year. We started a pilot with this year. And what you'll see is as the teacher shortage happens, it's going to hit the charter schools first, especially the brick and mortar charter schools, because, now, and then it's going to hit probably your bigger urban schools, and then it'll bleed down. So we have a charter school we partner with right now, and they have 3 teachers. They couldn't find a teacher. And what are you going to do? You're in the middle of the school year. So
my daughter's teacher for whatever technology quit 2 weeks into the school year. They spent an entire semester with no technology teacher, none, zero, goose egg. They didn't have anything to do. And you know what the challenging thing for me is she got a report card and she got 100 in technology.
Oh man,
everyone's grading her stuff.
She didn't even do anything.
Stuff to do.
It was study hall. She had study hall for an entire year. They gave her 100 in her class.
Wow. So in October, I talked to this superintendent of the charter school, and they said, "Look, we don't have a social studies teacher. Can't find one." And then, so our idea was, I have a social studies teacher. They are live.
Put them on the screen.
10 to 11 on the screen teaching, and then they have an aide, which they're able to find aides and everything, have a teaching license. So the aide's there for the discipline of the room, and the teacher teaches on the screen and does all the grade and everything. Then boom, lost my language arts teacher. We're doing it again with them. But next year we'll have that teacher can teach 4 different charter schools at the same time.
You know what the interesting thing too is it twofold. I think you get rid of crappy teachers with this, like we're doing this way. And 2, you get a lot of flexibility. And I think that's the one thing that was always not part of teaching. You had a specific time and this was the hour, the 45 minutes, and this was the block that was particularly taught, and that was the teacher for it. And I think that your program allows you to have the flexibility to say, I can't, I think it's interesting, and I don't want to get into it too much, but you had mentioned it the other day, because I had another colleague on, but about doing these sports programs where you're teaching the kids are training for sports, but also being taught their schooling as well. It's like it's almost reversing it. Before you went to school and you did sports at the end, and then it's doing sports during the day and then doing school at the end. You know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, these kids are competing for field time. There's only so much field time, and then the weather's bad and everything. So we were working on starting a sports school in the Philadelphia area where kids come in and you'll do algebra, and then you're going to go to practice, and you're going to come back and do language arts, and then you reverse it, and maybe the other, it would work well. Really, it's just kind of a mini, because right now, if you want to go to these IMG, these sports schools, your kid's moving, right?
Yeah,
they move to Florida to IMG or one of these other.
And you don't get to parent them at 12 years old, right?
Right. Now they can.
I don't know. I think what you do is awesome, man. I think it's I know it's silly enough future. It's the future of education. And it's really, for me, I have so many questions, because I have children and I'm in a position where I'm not really happy with their schooling. And it's not necessarily the teachers, it's the lack of discipline. It's the environment. It's more of that thing that makes me concerned. And I think that there's such an area or opportunity of growth for this type of learning. And oddly enough, the pandemic created the culture where everybody went, hey, maybe there is another way. And I think that was a really good outcome of that situation, that people now have. Back in the day, if you were the kid that got homeschooled, you were just a weird kid that didn't know anybody, right? That's kind of how it was. It's not that way anymore. It's way more, it's mainstream. It's way more accepted, and people are adopting it now because of concern for their level of education and also the environment that the kids have to live in and work in. And I think that's an awesome thing that you do. And I think that moving on to New York State would be awesome, because that's where I live, and we could just talk about maybe getting my kids on that program.
So I'll tell you, here's the thing too, that I think this can be beneficial in the future for kids is we're really teaching kids to learn independently a little bit, and which is a good skill to have. I mean, imagine, I was a pretty good student, but I went to college, I almost flunked out because suddenly I didn't have
well, you were in Florida.
I didn't want to, right? I didn't have to, if I didn't want to go to class, and there is that adjustment period. But if you do a little, so what if you took 3 classes in a school? I'll give you an example. We have a school district here that, man, it seems like they have to build a new school every year. The population is just blowing up in North Columbus and everything. Well, what if kids only went to school 2 days a week and home 3 days a week and home? It solves your overcrowding problem, but you save money on busing, you save money on
just the resources to go into paying for children. Yeah.
And you can teach kids to learn independently, and I have you 3 days in, 2 days out. And isn't that what they're going to have to do in college?
Well, yeah, but it's kind of like what we've done with work. Like with our jobs, we were required to travel and go and visit all these people. And we created a platform with this to be able to communicate differently and cut our travel down absolutely massively. And prior to that, we never even would have considered it. Now we have all of the tools to be able to communicate in a different way. Yeah. And I think it's really myopic to just only worry about how we used to do it instead of figuring out how to future do it. And I commend you. I think you were, I don't want to say lucky. That's a bad word. It's not lucky. I think what you created had really good vision, and the pandemic accelerated that maybe a little bit for you.
The pandemic forced schools to look at something they didn't want to do before.
Right. And now they have to consider it, right?
You better have an option. So you'll be surprised. Some of them are still stubbornly not doing it though.
They're going to have to, though. It's just going to be one of those things. I mean, no one likes change.
Change is the hardest thing. That's what I was going to say.
No one likes change, but eventually everything changes.
Well, so, like this too. Here's another thing that schools use us for we just mentioned. I mean, it's hard. You're not allowed to really suspend or expel a kid. You can say you got to stay home and go to school like this.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Right.
That makes a classroom, and teachers will love that. We have one school. They went in to their principals and said, if you get rid of 10 kids, who would they be? Okay, now you're going to go to school online at home. And learning is now happening in the classroom because there's not disruption.
Correct.
So you can use it.
That's a good point.
Different ways.
My kids would definitely have to get one at a time. Maybe.
All right, Jeff. Joe's already 6 minutes late for his next meeting.
It doesn't matter.
He's been 6 minutes late all day. It's okay.
I'm like an airline.
No, they're like 6 hours
delay. You're on the
delay. I'm just like short.
My fault.
Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, buddy. It was awesome. Thanks for being one of my favorite interviews because it was so outside of our realm. We all had different questions and experience levels dealing with this kind of stuff. And it was really, really cool for me. So I really appreciate you coming on. And the fact that you put up with Chad also makes you kind of cool in my book.
Yeah. Plus, I've had the opportunity to hang out with you a little bit outside of work, and because I know Chad and I've been to your house and stuff. So thanks for coming on and taking your time to do this. I know you got probably another tea time to get to. So
no, I'm done for the day.
You just got to hit the driving range for a little bit before, so you can straighten some stuff out before tomorrow.
Mercy.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us, Jeff.
Wow, it's harder than it looks.
No, I just did it because I didn't know what else to say. And It's the first time I've done it. 94 episodes, first time I've done that.
Try coming up with something new every single time and then getting ridiculed by you.
Thank you, Jeff, for coming on the show. Jeff, you were a rock star. I could come up with like 1 million.
Restart this.
That was 3.
Can we please restart this?
No way. That was great. I love it. Seriously, Jeff, that was great though. Again, as we talked about in the intro, it was one of the best interviews we've had because none of us know anything about like what you do.
No, you can stop right there. None of us know anything.
At the anything.
just cut
that
no
out.
More needs to be said.
No more needs to be said. Perfect.
No, I think again, we talked about it in the intro 40 seconds ago. I've known Jeff for a while too because of our relationship, and I've met Jeff on several occasions, and an interesting guy.
House.
Yeah, it is.
In his house, multiple times.
In his house, yes, and I think it is really unique, like what he does, and I think it's really interesting that you can. I'm still blown away by the fact that like the way I feel is that schools really only care about how much money they get. They don't really care about how much students and attendance they really have, because as long as they're making money, that's really, and it just goes to show you that everything is a machine. Like everything is about a money machine. It's, hospitals, schooling, everything is a money machine. And that's really all it boils down to. And Jeff's reason to be able to be successful is because the school say, screw, yeah, you can teach whoever you want as long as we get the financial backing from saying that they go to our school, which is kind of bizarre to me. But hey, to each his own. Everything works a little wacky in the government and the federal government and everything. So I'm now on some watch list for saying that.
Wow.
Hey, yeah.
Wow.
Well.
Wow.
Wow.
Shut up.
Wow.
So it's time
what
for
are we
our
doing
next
next?
It's
our next segment.
It's our new segment that we're debuting while
I
road and unprepared.
I think it stinks that we don't have like a background and like a thing for it. Like,
yeah, I wish we had a guy that did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wish that guy wasn't worried about his pergola blowing away.
Oh, it's blown away now. No, it's blown away.
Since we started this show.
Your neighbors now have a new pergola.
Actually, no, what's better is it's in pieces in his yard, and Lindsay is so mad.
So
Anthony's
essentially the segment, great. Essentially, the segment is storytellers. We each get to tell every week. Well, one of us every week gets to tell just some fun anecdotal story from their lives. Could be recent, could be a long time ago, could be terrible. Never know until you really get to the end of the story, do you?
So it's your turn.
So I'm gonna go first. Mine's a very.
You're gonna pilot story. It. You're piloting storytellers.
Yeah, mine's a very recent story. Actually, from the cruise that I went on with Jeff a few weeks ago. Like 6 weeks out, Lindsay was like, "Hey, you know, they have this thing in Aruba that's intro to scuba diving. Like, it's not like you get certified, but they train you enough to clear your mask and everything, and like all the things you need to do, and then they take you down and you're guided and whatever." And like,
but this is like a whole day thing, right? Like, this is like
it's like a 5 or 6 hour excursion, essentially.
Okay.
And in Aruba, we were there from like 9 in the morning to like 11 at night. So that didn't really matter. But so she's like, "Do you want to do it?" And I'm like, I love the snorkel, and I've always wanted to do it. Like my whole life, I've wanted to scuba dive. So I'm like, I don't know, but I'm also claustrophobic. So like, I'm like, okay. So Zoe's like, I don't know if I want to go. I'm like, well, she's not going to. Then she's like, I'm going to go. I'm like, well, then I'm going. So anyways, on to the story. We get to Aruba. We get to the scuba diving place. And part of it is you go through like this half hour, like discussion about the things you have to do and learn. And then you go in the pool and you
like
put the scuba gear on. Sort of. Yeah, exactly. Except like 20 minutes later, they don't just release you on 8 live gas lines. You know what I mean? So we go through this whole thing. You know, there's 95 different things you got to do. When you're going down, you got to blow your nose out. So you pressurize. You can't take too much air in. There got to be short breaths. You got to open your teeth to clear all kinds of stuff to clear the regular blow out. There's a lot, right? There's a lot, but it's not unmanageable. Like, I'm like, okay, this isn't, you know, it's a lot of stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure there's somebody there with you, like, you know. So we go out and everybody gets fitted, and I'm like first in line. I get my stuff on, and then, you know, it weighs a solid probably 50 pounds on your back, like all this stuff. And you walk in the water, and then you're like weightless. So my family group's around. We have one instructor, and he's like, all right, let's just take the regulator and we're going to put it in our mouth. So I did. And they were like, you can go underwater. And I put my head underwater about the A5.
Wait a minute. You have to stop.
No, don't say it yet. Do not.
No,
what?
No.
What am I missing?
You're in a pool.
Yeah, I'm in a pool.
You're not in the ocean. He's in like a kiddie pool.
Like, if I stand up in the pool, this is about where I am.
Right. He's in a 3-foot pool.
So now I'm nervous. I got this regulator in. And I'm like, all right, I can do this. And I'm like, and I'm above the water. And I'm like, I don't think this is how I'm supposed to do it. So the instructor's like, all right, let's go underwater. So I'm like this. I go. And I go, can't do it. So now the guy comes up and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And he's like, oh, just take your time. We'll wait for you. And I go, wait for me? We've been doing this for 30 seconds. I can't even figure out how to catch my breath. So I go back down under again. And I'm like, I got to do this. I go down and I go, and I can't breathe through this thing, because you can't be like, you know, you're either real short breaths, which I can't do, or breaths like this, which I'm doing. And I'm going, and now I'm underwater and there's bubbles I can't see anything. There's now water coming in my mask. I knew in 2 minutes. I'm never scuba diving in my life. And I would have known
under the
parking lot. I would have known in the parking lot had they just given me the regulator and said, hey, breathe through this. Like, but I was this far, almost died. Traumatic experience.
So everybody else went scuba diving, right?
So the best part is I literally I was in the pool for 3 minutes. The second time after I pick up my head after the bubbles, Zoe comes up and we make eye contact and I go, not doing this. And she goes, I understand. And she goes back down. I'm like, so then I'm standing there and I'm like, what do I do? Like everybody's underwater and I see bubbles and I'm just standing there like that. Like, this is what they see of me. Literally, they're underwater doing all this stuff and I'm like, so then Lindsay comes up and I go, no chance I'm doing this. So literally they're still doing all their stuff. I get out, I take my thing off and I go sit on a chair. Like this. Almost the same face as when I got cut off with the 15 drink limit. That was
the exact same bit.
Everybody went scuba diving. My whole family, all three of them, they did an amazing job. I could have never done it. Zoe was really nervous. Lindsay was like, there was so much to take care of, but they loved it. They absolutely loved it. I sat on top of the boat, and if you ever been on a scuba boat, they have like a top deck thing. Yeah. I sat up there for an hour and a half by myself and listened to music, and it was actually pretty great afternoon.
Yeah, it was probably the greatest part of your vacation.
I mean, well, I had to relax after I almost died in the pool. I mean, it wasn't good.
So
now go ahead. You can tell your portion of the story that probably made my outcome the way it was. Yeah. Thank you.
So 2 weeks before he's about to go, he says, hey, I think we're going to go do the scuba diving thing. I go, you're never going to do that. And he's like, why? I said, you're going to hate it. There's no way you're going to be able to do that. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. I go, have you ever done it? He goes, well, I like snorkeling. I go, it's not like that at all. And it has nothing to do with like being under the water. It's the breathing that if you're going to hate it. He's like, I'll be fine. He goes on vacation. This event happens. He comes back. He calls me on Teams. He goes, very first thing he said, he goes, I couldn't go scuba diving. Like, you're right. I couldn't do it. I was like, I knew, like, you shouldn't have wasted your money. I know you. There's no way they're going to stick something in your mouth and put you under something. You're going to be
okay. There's like 80 different things going on too. One of the things is they give you an air jacket and you can put air in and out of your jacket from your tank. So like you can float to the top. Well, they tell you never put air into it ever. Like it's locked off. I'd have been the guy that got down 40 feet on the line after I did all this and cleared my glasses, and something would have happened and I would have went.
See, you know what you need? You know what you need? You need one of those old like Jules Verne diving helmets where they just pump the air and you can walk and breathe. Yeah. like the Scooby-Doo episode.
Okay. Give me my 3 steps.
Again with that again. That's the second episode in a row.
Listen, this was relevant here.
So that's my scuba diving story, and for the rest of the week,
no, that's your pool traumatic. That's your traumatic pool story. You can't call that a scuba diving experience. That is a traumatic kiddie pool experience, and you should be embarrassed.
Yeah, 100%. I told you not to go. You'd have saved yourself so much time and energy
and money. Lindsay goes, should I tip these guys? I go, I left 100-pound gallon tank of oxygen for them. I used it for 15 seconds.
You should have just turned it on and walked away. Like, I'm getting my money out of this. So, anyways, storyteller. So next week,
that's a great intro. One of you has to be hard to top, though. Chad drowning in a kiddie pool.
So we're gonna I guess skip news this week because we don't have anything great to talk about.
But weren't you going to tell me something?
Yeah, you wanted to tell.
So we're in Louisville. We get here yesterday. I don't know, like 5, 4, 3. I don't know, whatever.
4 o'clock.
It was like 3:30. So we go down and we're like, hey, let's everybody, we're hungry, want to get something to drink. So we walk out. We're in downtown Louisville, literally downtown. We walk like a block and we're in the middle of like lots of bars and restaurants, and we walk a block and nothing is open. Like literally everything is black and closed, like nothing going on. Like not like we're getting ready, right? Like it is not happening. So we were like, finally we see this liquor store, and Chad's like, I'm gonna hop in here and see if we, if I have whatever he wants.
Fireball. I want a Fireball.
Fireball. Yeah, sorry. Well, your original thing was beer, and then you switched out to Fireball when we got inside. But anyways, so we go to walk in the liquor store, and the door is locked, and we're like, oh, you got to be kidding me! But there's a guy in there. He's like, oh, so he comes over and he opens the door and lets us in. So we start, walking around. I go, hey, I said, we're not from around here. I was like, why is everything like closed? And he goes, like he was this miserable guy. He goes,
he was mean.
COVID and civil unrest. And I was like,
huh?
What? Like, there's people outside. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't see any civil unrest on my whole trip through downtown. Like, I don't know. So I leave because I'm mad. I'm like, this guy's a jerk. Like, what a jerky thing
Almost
to say.
said a bad word.
No, I didn't. So then, like, we're like, whatever, we're gonna walk around a bit. So we find this area where there's a few places open, like Gordon Biersch and like the Guy Fieri place, and so we go in there, and we're like, hey, why is everything closed? And she's like, oh, it's Monday. Everything's closed on Monday downtown. Like, it's like the day where everything's not open.
Like,
she's like, the rest of the week, everything's open and everything, you know. And I was
Dave Chappelle's at the Palace Theater,
literally half a block away.
Yeah. Tonight.
Right next to the liquor store that has like COVID and
civil unrest.
Civil unrest, whatever he said, social civil.
I like it.
Anyways,
it was weird.
Louisville's a little strange, yeah. No offense to anybody, our viewers from Louisville, but it's
none of them.
All one of them. Maybe they'll put a pin. We should get that pin board like that. That's
a good idea. Like that.
Yeah, that's where we should start putting our people. Like, interview them where they're from.
All right, are we done?
I've been done for 40 minutes.
We started.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Teddy didn't hit record.
I didn't hit record yet.
All right, that was just the practice.
That was practice.
Now Teddy's got COVID. Watch out for that in the social unrest.
There's civil unrest.
Civil unrest, whatever I said.
Social unrest. I don't think there's
social civil. I don't know. There was none of it. It doesn't matter what you call it. There's nothing going on. This guy was just mean.
I know you guys have packed this in here for us so we can get the show out for our guests. Remember, for all of our guests that we're talking to click like, subscribe, share, all of the things that I've asked you to do.
How do you keep calling them guests? Aren't they viewers?
Viewers, subscribers, fans.
I think we'd be better at this after 2 years.
We're terrible at this.
We're getting worse.
Can you imagine? You know what the thing is?
Actually,
if they gave us like, if somebody called us today and was like, "I'm going to give you $100,000 a month budget," our show would be exactly the same. We wouldn't know what to do. We would just have like nicer desk chairs. We'd have like nicer desk chairs and better microphones. Like that.
You know what I would do? Pay an executive producer all of that money to tell us what to do.
And I'd probably just record all day long.
But it wouldn't be any fun.
I'd record all day long. And they could take whatever they wanted. I'd hire a $40,000 guy to edit our videos to pull out everything that we need, possibly.
I would turn this into a different platform.
Well, now that we know that.
No, I mean, I don't think you guys understood what I meant. Like, I would do something a little bit more like podcasty, I think, like professionally podcasty. But, I don't think they give money to people that have 3 followers, so. We need a few more. Actually, how many do we have now on LinkedIn? Do you guys know?
I can tell you. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
I think it's over 900.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 1K mark.
We're going to have a party. We'll have a giveaway.
1K party? We should have it under the pergola.
I found a CFL koozie in my bag.
Every person who's a subscriber gets a piece of Chad's pergola that it broke into.
the thousands of pieces, the splintered pieces.
I'm not talking to either of you. The rest of the
Hey, you know what?
It's going to be tough with Joe, but I'm going to get through it.
How about the 1,000th follower? We'll send them something awesome.
We're at 908.
If we get 1,000 followers and anybody's watching this, if you're the 1,000th follower, we'll send you something awesome.
By awesome,
he means a pen.
Yeah.
Or you can come on the show and talk about anything you want.
And be a 1,000th follower guest.
Yeah, you can be a 1,000th follower guest.
I just said that, Echo.
I said person.
You added
I put person at the tail end of that.
All right, you guys can go. We'll talk to you later. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.